Los Angeles. Got here this morning. I don't have any actual work to do till tomorrow, so I think we know what that means. Welcome to Hustler. Glad to be here. After a good half hour without getting on the scoreboard, I cold call a 3-bet out of the small blind with King 10 of diamonds. Probably better either as a fold or a 4-bet, but this is what I do in the moment. By the way, say hi to my card protector. That's a glass airplane given to me by the airport personnel in Cabo San Lucas a few months ago. Anyway, we go to a flop of King Deuce 7, 2 clubs. We flop top pair, okay kicker. Being in the small blind, I go ahead and check, as I would with almost 100% of my range. It ends up checking around. Once the turn comes the 4 of spades, I figure it's time to take a stab at this pot. I go ahead and lead out for 60. The hijack thinks a few seconds, then makes the call. River peels off the 3 of spades. This completes ace 5 and 6-5 suited, but I'm not too concerned with being up against either of those right now. That being said, I've just got top pair with an okay kicker, but I think it's okay to go for some thin value in this spot against even worse kings or a non-believing ace high type of hand. I bet 75. Hijack thinks for just a little bit and ends up calling. I show him my top pair is good, so he must have had exactly what I was going for value against. I've got 9s under the gun, $15 open, plus 1 calls, and we go heads up. First 3 cards are 8-4-4. I've got an overpair which is unlikely to remain an overpair on later streets, so my hand could use some protection. I bet 30, which plus 1 calls. And 8 falls. Got a double paired board now. Perhaps now I can get value from any ace high hand. I go for 2/3 pot and bet out $60. Plus 1 then does something I didn't expect, and min clicks it back at me. The new price is 120. Since he just called my pre-flop open, I don't see him having big overpairs that have me beat. Perhaps he's just got an ace and is trying to get me off of a chop. Other realistic hands could be stuff like 8-7 suited or 5-4 suited, but I'm not going to be concerned with the possibility of those holdings quite yet. As of now, I think I'm still too strong to let this go, so I put the additional $60 in. River is a 10. I don't really love this card as now I lose to ace 10. I go into a check call mode. Plus 1 then takes a stab for 100. Not loving the size of his river bet here, because it feels like he's trying to take me to Value Town, and he's probably milking me with ace 10 or something, or the random 8 or random 4 containing hands. In the end though, over 4-1 is what I'm getting for a call, and I feel like he could just be trying to push me off with just an ace kicker, so I end up calling it. He then shows that he had pocket 10s. Yikes, didn't see that coming. He actually had me the whole way. Didn't even need to boat up at the end. Honestly though, I could have lost a lot more on this hand. He didn't 3-bet it pre-flop and his raise on the turn was just a min click back. So it's okay, on to the next one. It's about a half hour later and I've got ace 6 of clubs in the plus 1 position. Definitely a loose open here, but the table has been pretty slow moving so far, so I open this one up for 15. Just middle position calls. Flop is 4 king 7 with 2 clubs. We've got the nut flush draw. I start off with a bet of 20 as a semi-bluff and partly to bloat up the pot in case a club comes right away. Middle position goes ahead and calls. Turns the 8 of spades. Now we pick up additional equity in the form of a gut shot straight draw. I take an additional semi-bluff stab and make a half pot bet of 35. Middle position calls again. The river shows up and it brings absolutely no help. The 3 of hearts. Yuck. Now I have no way to win this pot except to bluff at it. I feel like I've told a credible story so far, something that says, I've got a strong king, give me money. So I take a stab at it for 85. He does make the fold relatively quickly, so he probably had some busted draw of his own. I probably could have gotten away with this bluff with a smaller bet, but a pot is a pot. Okay, here's a weird hand where I'm in the big blind and ended up checking my option in a limped pot with 6-8 offsuit. I didn't hit the record button at first because I didn't think anything would come of this hand, but boy was I wrong. By the time I finally start recording this hand, we're already on the turn with a board of 6 jack 5-8, and I'm facing about a 25 and a call from the small blind. I've got a really random 2 pair here and I'm gonna go for it. I raise it up to 100. The first better gets out of the way, then the small blind makes the call. What am I up against here when he double flats on the turn? River's an ace. Yuck. I really don't like this card. It's not really that I think he now has a better 2-pair than me, it's that I think he may have double flatted on the turn with a jack and will now fold to a bet by me. Yeah, except he's got different plans. Instead of just checking it over to me, he goes ahead and rips it for 256. What the hell? What am I up against here? Does he have 7-9 and is just taking the initiative here? Does he have ace-jack? Is he blasting away with air? He could be. I think this is either really strong or absolutely nothing. I end up wussing out. I ask him to show for the vlog and, well, he does. Consider my soul owned. This hand is my favorite. I've made a good chunk of Broadway straights with it, and that have allowed me to take opponents down to the felt. I've also hit nut flushes versus second or third nut flushes with it, so this hand has historically treated me well. I'm facing an open from +1 to 20, and I'm in the low jack here. Let's go for it. I 3-bet this bad boy to 60. Folds back around to +1, and he's thinking hard. If he 4-bets me, I'll be put in a world of hurt. But he eventually just calls. Flop's pretty good. It comes 5-6 ace, giving me top pair. He checks it to me, I bet 75, and he quickly folds pocket queens face up. Damn, was I too aggressive here? On the button this time, and I've got a weak suited king. Low jack opens it up to 20, and I make a pretty loose call here. Suited king? Sure, why not? The flop decides to punish my loose call here by coming up ace-5 with not a single spade to be seen. Low jack c-bets 25, and I'm just out of there. Okay, now it's time yet again for this stupid, overrated, gets your hopes up then disappoints you every time excuse of a poker hand. Gets to me in the cutoff, and from here this dumb hand isn't open, so I do it. The small blind, who I can tell is a decent player with a grasp on the fundamentals, 3-bets it to 60. He definitely understands that I could be opening relatively light from late position, and he's going with a 3-bet or fold strategy from his position. I don't like it, but since I'm in position, I go ahead and make the call. Flop comes queen 5-4, giving me top pair, second best kicker. I swear if he has ace queen. He leads out for 50 bucks, and I'm not going anywhere yet. I make the call. Turns a 7 and introduces backdoor clubs. Small blind keeps his foot on the gas pedal and bets out $115. Man, I'm really not liking this situation too much. King Queen has just been a consistent disappointment in my poker career. I think for a bit, but I think I gotta go ahead and toss in the call again and evaluate what he does on the river. I do it, and now I'm in a bloated up pot with my least favorite hand in the game. River's another 7, pairing the board, and small blind surprisingly checks it over to me. With his check, I'm thinking he's not as strong as I thought, and he could be waving the white flag with pocket jacks or something. But I'm also thinking if I bet out, could I ever get value from worse? Ultimately, I can't think of a worse hand that would call a bet, and I'm just going to take my showdown value with this one. I check it back. Turns out I'm up against pocket 10s again, but this time I've got the best of it. Amazing. Look at you, King Queen. Finally winning me a pot. Are you trying to change my opinion of you? I'm watching you.
But I will be watching you, studying your every move.
I then go card dead for a bit and bleed, but funny enough, eventually get a series of ace-king holdings which I 3-bet each time and get no action with. Oh well, picking up dead money without seeing a flop adds up over time. Not bad results with those ace-kings. But with the bleeding going on, I haven't been able to get much going since the king-queen hand, and I'm just about back down to even on the session. I look back down at pocket 9s, which seems like a fine enough opportunity to put my stack in profit territory. It's a limp fest over to me on the cutoff, and I open up my 9s to 25. All of the limpers call, and we go 5 ways to ace king 7. That's as bad as it gets for my actual hand, but with me being the pre-flop raiser, this flop favors my range. I'm not a big fan of bluffing multi-way, but when it checks to me, I take a small stab at the pot for 40. At a minimum, I should be able to narrow the field with this bet. I'm right, as just under the gun makes the call, and we isolate this hand to heads-up action. Turns a 6, which shouldn't change too much. He checks it over to me. I've got to take a stab again. He can't be too strong because he limp called pre-flop and then check called on that flop. The only thing is, my actual hand isn't too strong either. I've got to try to push him off weak aces or king X type hands. I don't think he'd arrive here with any worse hands than that. I bet 65, hoping to fold him out. He lets out a sigh and he makes a grimaced facial expression which all but confirms my suspicions that he's not that strong. I'm hoping he just lets it go now. But unfortunately, he eventually decides to call again. River peels off a jack. Now I've just got fourth pair and I'm certainly beat. But after he checks it to me one last time, I've got no choice to win this pot but to push him off his weak ace or king. I bet 150 as a bluff. He sighs and grimaces again. Maybe this is gonna work. This is one of those tanks people make that ends up in folds around 90% of the time. He's picking his cards up off the table and looking at them, flicking them, all behaviors of someone who was about to fold. But then he switches his behaviors to that of someone who's about to call. He picks up chips and begins to count out $150 worth of them. Man, please don't. You're not that strong and you know it. Just let your hand go. Return it to the dealer. Toss it into the muck. You know you want to. Put your chips back into your stack and start flicking your cards again. Please. Fold. 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 I get called by ace-5 offsuit. That's exactly the type of hand I suspected and I believed I could push off of this pot. But my status as the world's worst bluffer has been confirmed. Now I'm losing and I gotta top off my stack, putting me in this game for 800. I bleed even more before the player to my right gets up. Shout out to him for the live subscription to my channel, by the way. Always appreciated. I move to his seat for a better camera angle and he proclaims to me that this is the luckiest seat at the table. Well, let's test that theory out with this hand, shall we? I'm under the gun, so I'm going to have to earn this one out of position. I open up to the usual 15, +1 calls, low jack calls, and I'm worried I'm going to be out of position against multiple opponents here. But then it gets all the way to the big blind, who saves the day. He 3-bets to 70. Music to my ears and a sight to behold when you've got the pre-flop nuts. I've got 317 left behind. I want it to look like I'm pondering a call.
Stay the line, Bart!
But all I'm really thinking about is Vegas and the f***ing Mirage.
Yay!
You know what? Big Blind obviously likes his hand. The other two guys are just dead money at this point. I'm not gonna lollygag here. I'm all in, buddy. Folds to Big Blind, who thankfully doesn't immediately fold. He asks me for a count and makes me count out my chips in front of him. Whatever, man. Just make the call. You know you want to. He eventually calls. Nice. Do you have a pair? He asks.
Do you have a pair?
No need to slow roll. I show him the bad news. All I've got to do is hold.
See if it holds.
Flop comes with an ace on it. Well, that certainly works. It's a clean run out after that, and this big one gets shipped my way. These are the hands we sit there and wait for, folks. Maybe this is the luckiest seat at the table.
Worked out for you. I was gonna call that. It's
been a long time coming, yeah.
Stayed in, I would have cracked you.
After those pocket aces, we are officially unstuck. And then I look down at this dumb hand. I got one earlier with it. Let's see if this hand can officially convince me to like it. I continue the theme of being under the gun. Man, getting something in some other position would be nice sometime, I swear. Anyway, it's a $15 open from me, as is tradition, and we go heads up with +1 to Jack 5 deuce. I like to not c-bet this time, being the board more favors his range than mine, so I check it to him. He checks behind. Looking for a little more help on the turn, which doesn't come. It's a 4. Not liking it, but I go ahead and take a stab at it with a delayed c-bet at 15. He snap calls it, and I'm officially done with this hand. River's a 10. Whatever, I'm still done with this one. I check. He checks back. I announce my king high, and he's got ace 8, which beats me. Yep, back to king queen being a dumb disappointment. This one has potential on the button. There's a limper, and I open this suited 1-gapper to 20. Both of the blinds call, and so does the limper. Now would be a fantastic time to hit something. We take a look at ace king 9 with 2 clubs. I better buckle up. checks to the original limper, who leads out for 25. That's fair, I call. The blinds get out of the way. Turn peels off a 6, giving me a tiny bit of showdown value. That'll be good at showdown with just a pair of 6s though. My opponent bets out 55 this time. We're deep enough, not going anywhere yet. I call, praying we see a club. Guys, the river is the 10 of clubs. I get led into for 75 this time, and I'm just gonna do it. I'm putting you all in, buddy. All you can eat. Give me the remainder of your stack. All 250-ish of it. You know you want to. Unfortunately, he thinks better of it and folds. Probably just had a one pair type of hand or something. Still a nice one to take down. Stack update. This is what I've got going into this next one. The hand of the night. Holy cow, buckle your seatbelts for this. I've got Jack 10 of diamonds and +1 and call a $15 open from under the gun. We're just 2 of the 5 players that go to a flop, which, wow. It's 8-9-4 with the 8 and 9 of diamonds. We flop an open-ended straight flush draw. Under the gun checks to me, and man, with a flop like this, I just have to bet at it. I want to bloat this thing up in case something amazing happens. I bet out 25. Only the original raiser, under the gun, comes along. The turn brings immediate help. King of diamonds. Boom. If only it was his wife that showed up though. Under the gun checks to me, and I'm gonna go big. I bet 105 bucks. Now things start to get sticky. Under the gun, check raises me to $275. Whoa. What story is he telling here? Don't tell me he's got the nut flush and I'm actually no good. No, I'm not going to be afraid of monsters. I cannot fold this yet. I call. The river brings the king's mistress. It's a queen, but not the right one. Freaking imagine if the queen of diamonds showed up. Maybe next time. Alright, it's on under the gun. I'd be happy with anything he does except for jam. He can check and that'd be fine. He can bet $200 or $300 and that'd be fine too. Please, just do anything except for say those 2 words. Anything at all.
96.
I'm all in.
65.
Huh? I'm all in.
160.
Shh. This is for my entire stack. He's got me covered. It's a nearly $600 decision. Why, man? Why? This is the deepest tank I have ever gone into, and it's the longest I've ever spent in one. This is just a totally gross, disgusting, horrific spot. As played, he at a bare minimum is holding the ace of diamonds. There's no doubt about that. It's just a matter of what the other card is. If it's a diamond, I lose my entire stack. If it's not, then this hand propels me well into Profitville. I tank so long I get the clock called on me for the first time in my poker career. I've got 60 seconds to act or my hand is dead. Oh my god. In the end, I decide to let it go. Please show me and my audience what you have, man. Did you have it? Or did you just pull off one of the grossest bluffs that's ever been pulled against me? It's the latter. Ace 4 offsuit with the ace of diamonds. Oh my god. Consider my soul owned yet again, and you played that brilliantly, man. Still a huge disappointment on my end. I'm trying to improve my game by being more careful facing aggression on the river, but sometimes that means stuff like this happens and you miss out on a big pot. And now I'm stuck again. Great. Maybe ace king can help me out? I 3-bet it pre-flop and everybody folds. Pretty sure that's the 4th time this has happened with ace king tonight. On my new quest to get unstuck again, I've got queen 6 of clubs, which... Wait, I've seen this hand before. I don't remember what the river was. I table my top, and he reveals queen 6 of clubs. There's a limp, and I open this one up to 20 from the hijack. It's a bit loose, but I can't get unstuck if I don't play right. It goes 4 ways to jack, 3, 4 with 2 clubs. Here we go again. it checks around, and I thought about betting, but in this case I'm happy to go ahead and see a free card. The turn doesn't disappoint. It's the 9 of clubs. Boom. Once it checks to me, it's time to bet. I go with 30. Everyone calls. Did not expect that. But I'm not worried about anyone having a hand better than mine yet. If they did, they would have either let out or raised the action. Going multi-way in this case is fine. Now all we need to do is for the river to not come a 4th club or pair the board.
No, God!
So naturally, that's exactly what happens. Whatever, it checks to me and I'm going for it anyway. Pot-sized bet, 200, let's go. Player to my left immediately calls me. Yikes, that was a little too fast for comfort. The others fold, and I tell my caller that if he boated up, he's good. There's a little verbal exchange, but in the end, we reveal that we both made flushes, with mine, thankfully, being the better of the two. What a relief. That one got a little too sticky for my liking. Glad it worked out. By the way, there must be something with Queen 6 of clubs that's magical. Maybe I'm learning that. And with that, we are officially unstuck again. Now, can we please just win already? Oh maybe we will. Look at that, I'm on the button too. No more under the gun or small blind shenanigans. The best hand in the best position. That's what I'm talking about. And the straddle is on. What a dream. I'm first into the pot and I open it up to 30. The big blind comes along and the straddler defends. We see a jack high flop with 2 clubs. That's completely safe for now. Then the big blind goes ahead and leads out for 50, which the straddler then calls. Wow, okay, these guys fear nothing. But you know what? Not in this house, not today. I call it. Turns an offsuit 6. Okay, still good for now. Big blind bets out again for 70, straddler again calls. I'm a non-believer, I call it again. River's another 6. I'm gonna call anything. If they've got it, they've got it. Big blind checks this time, and now it's the straddler who leads out. He bets 125, and I call before the dealer can even announce the amount. Big blind decides he wants to go to a 3-way showdown too, and calls it off. The moment of truth. Straddler shows first, and it's King Jack. Alright, a little ambitious dude, but I'm not complaining. I definitely beat that. I reveal my aces. The big blind grimaces and reveals pocket queens. We just played a massive pot and nobody had better than a pair. Amazing. Ship it over to the guy with aces, dealer. I pick up one more orbit of hands to be courteous, but I've mentally checked out of the session. I had to get unstuck twice and finally pulled off a good win at the end. It's getting late. I've got to fly tomorrow. Time to rack up and book this $505 win.
Right, so that was a pretty good session. Kind of roller coaster-y. Had to get unstuck a couple times, but it worked out in the end. It's time to fly now, and I think we'll like the next place.